Welcome to Research Matters, an online show that is all about communicating the research taking place at NUST in efforts to promote the university's research agenda and the impact thereof.
Welcome to another episode of Research and Innovation Matters with me, Nigel Mquaira. Now, in today's episode, we'll be talking about all things related to innovation, entrepreneurship, and the ecosystem thereof. Now, in today's episode, we're joined by Mirza from Demola Global, who is the head of startup and development. Welcome to the show.
Nigel, thanks for inviting me. Very happy to be here.
Now, tell us a bit about Demola Global and how it is that you are within the innovation and entrepreneurship space.
Yeah, let's start with a rough pitch. We operate at intersection of industry, academia, and then startups. So we facilitate all kind of collaboration projects and all kind of enabling of especially ecosystem development that all of these stakeholders have in common. To use even more plain language, we are helping innovation come alive and take a concrete shape. We've been doing this for the last 18 years or so around the world. With Namibia, we have a 10-year history since the first time we started co-creating innovation here with local partners. For myself, it's first time here in this country, and I've been excited from very beginning to be here, and maybe that's a good place to start.
Awesome. Now, to put it into perspective, Demola is from Finland.
Correct.
And this 10-year journey, what are some of the relatable elements between Finland and Namibia, and what makes this 10-year relationship interesting or unique to you?
I think we are more similar than different, or let's say more similar than we think those two countries might be. We'll speak here about entrepreneurship and innovation, so I'll take examples from that sphere. Earlier today, we were talking also how both markets are rather small. With you guys, 3 million, Finland 5.5. So when it comes to, let's say, startup entrepreneurship, there is not such a thing as focusing on a local market too. Okay, kind of like you have to go global from day one in terms of mindset and build solutions that are beyond geographical borders of Finland or Namibia. Nice. So from what I understood, you guys have a little bit of a similar position, and then you have neighboring countries who have very similar market situation and market problems, which can be said the same for Nordics. So that's like one commonality. Then I think we are at the moment at university premises, and the drive and motivation of students I've seen this week in Namibia is by no means any different than what we see with top students in Finnish universities, with core competences and capabilities to work on a project and explore futuristic scenarios and innovation as such. So back to original thought, we are more in common than one.
Okay, awesome. Now, before we go into the conversation, as you've already mentioned, how do you find Namibia so
far? Very friendly, inviting, strange, like compared to European locations that we do most of the innovation work. So in that sense, it's been like a fresh air, like feels like it's a very different part of the world in a most positive way. Right. So this is like purely from first time in this country experiences, and like been really nice. Hey, good food.
Lovely.
For the audience to not throw potatoes at me, been really especially steaks, and your barbecue is like
awesome. That's good to hear. So going back into the conversation, let's start with talking about terminology. I think we talk about innovation and entrepreneurship as terms and terminology, but can you break that down into small bites that our viewers can understand? What is innovation? What is entrepreneurship? To the very basics of it.
At the core of it is solving problem and adding value. A bit abstract and general place to start from, but let's go into more specifics. I think innovation has different shapes and forms. We could be speaking about the innovation projects. We could be speaking about startup companies. We could be speaking about the within the startup uh, types, whether it's a SaaS product or deep tech or clean tech, or you name it. But then we have innovation happening in a big corporate R&D spheres, which if you think about coming from Finland, there's always elephant in the room, Nokia. So was Nokia a startup? No. Was it an innovation project? Definitely not. But bigger than that, it was a corporate that was giving birth to most amazing innovation at the time. So multiple shapes and forms to the same fundamental mission of how to solve certain big global problems and add value.
Okay. All right. Now, if as an aspiring innovator out there, be it a student or a big corporate out there, what you did touch on solving a problem. What would be some of the initial steps one has to take in the innovation journey?
We believe that problem solving doesn't start with a business idea, but starts with the right exposure to how you define the problem. If you're exposed to global problems, it's more likely that you will understand and frame the global problem. And it also boils down to willingness to solve the problem. Now, is it easy? Far from that. Especially entrepreneurship is quite a rocky road and not for everyone. But once a team or individual has been obsessed with solving the problem or first understanding it to the deeper layer and finding a way to overcome certain challenge that might come from personal experience or a systemic problem that indicates that it's not going anywhere. Those are quite often the starting points of great examples of entrepreneurship and innovation we have in the world.
Okay. So from your experience with Demola in Finland, what are the most important conditions needed to train young people from idea holders into confident innovators and entrepreneurs who can build real MVPs and market-ready solutions?
Right. So a good place to start is Demola projects. We are looking into the future. And one thing about the future that we believe is future is uncertain. Well, innovation or otherwise. And with students, there is not often enough confidence to place own bets on how certain field of innovation will look like in the future. We have a portfolio that is made of interesting topic and interest areas that come from discussions with our partners or corporates or big organizations. And those are interesting topics and frames within which people who innovate have a freedom to, let's say, develop potential scenarios of the future with clear problem statements, with clear concepts developed, with clear value that it would create. So this, in our experience, shows clearly a confidence for young people to just get equipped with right tools and, even more important, right mindset, and understand that actually future belongs to all of us, and whoever is doing something gets to shape how certain domain or certain sphere of life will look like. May it be education in the university that we are right now, healthcare, AI, digitalization, space, or you name it.
All right. So now you mentioned something about practical tools in general. What are some of those practical tools that young students could implement or think about early?
We see innovation building as iteration process. So students are iterating on same building elements multiple times, especially after feedback has been collected. To give example, we are exploring how to have a clear problem statement. So view of the problem and landing on something concrete, not like staying on general level. How to find who's the user or user group that we are building this for, who has that problem. Then what is the value proposition? What are the proposed concepts that we use? And those change all the time. So basically, every time a team goes out there and collects feedback and validates, some things get proven, some assumptions are giving signals, this is good, this is not good, and then that's kind of like the basis of our tools. It's very important, the insights. I think these days with AI, product building or demo building capabilities are incredible, and teams find it easy to build demos that then they later use to validate certain assumptions and get like valuable insights that would be good material to build a big proposition.
Okay, maybe let's talk a bit more about students creating for a specific challenge, but more specifically talking about co-creation. I mean, the students have to meet a challenge. You mentioned that earlier on. How does co-creation look like between students and companies, organizations, and is it necessary?
It is very valuable process. Co-creation is in the middle of how Demola operates. Let's say that we believe that good things happen already by, let's say, industry leaders, and that students who are next generation of both consumers, but even more important, they are the future leaders of our countries in 10, 15 years from now. So students have a lot to offer when it comes to offering observations and perspectives, how certain habits are changing, how certain awareness towards consumption or towards certain technologies gets transformed and reshaped. So good corporates are at the source of next-gen innovation, and the co-creation process there is there to bring those two together, to explore ideas and look at the problems together. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. And I mean, you touched a bit on government, but in your experience, with your experience, what are certain things that governments have to do to create a conducive environment for innovation?
How to say? It's a loaded question. You talk about a lot of things there. In terms of co-creation, I think government or public sector is another interesting stakeholder. I think government and public sector, good examples out there in the world are where they are not only enablers from the side, like watching the show and supporting with funds and resources and other needs, but when they are part of the mix, when they are as well co-creating and as well looking at problems together. For example, it's very interesting how in Nordics government makes a lot of decisions that affect market by consulting or by listening closely the companies or the corporates who are at the source of what's up. So I think this private-public co-creation doesn't come natural. It's not the most, let's say, organic model to begin with, but very much needed. And again, just like in previous example, sales corporates, good things happen when they are part of the same forum, looking at the same problems, taking out solutions together.
Yeah, I think as you rightfully mentioned, I mean, there needs to be synergy from all walks of life, to say the least. Where do you see the future? You touched a bit on AI. Where do you see the future of innovation and entrepreneurship, broadly speaking?
From technology point of view, I'm afraid to predict. I don't have strong vision there. But one thing is clear: AI amplified the building. Let's say that, to quote someone else's thoughts here, humans are and were good at building and thinking. And now AI is very good at building. So what happened is that we outsourced building.
Okay.
But thinking is still in the hands and minds of humans. So I think the clarity of thinking is very high. Skill, creativity is something that will not be outsourced to AI. Analytical thinking, not as a processing big amounts of data, but more about having critical views towards solutions out there is also very like human strength. So I think that it's not a question of human or AI, but it's a matter of how this two will coexist and what's the best way to amplify coexistence. But technology-wise, it's impossible to predict. Like AI made time feel going faster than ever, and as we see every 3 months, there's like new AI platforms technology being released. So let's see. I'm ready to be surprised. If I can add on AI, like as a business graduate and as a humanist in soul, in nature,
Yes.
AI feels like it's some sort of personal victory.
Okay.
Like one day I woke up and there's this toolbox next to me that now I get to build whatever I want in a very super easy way. So in that sense, it's amazing time to be alive, and it's amazing time to kind of like unlock some new possibilities that on mindset level, at least for me, were kind of like me building a code. Possible. But
Now it's possible. Now, I usually get questions like this, especially from a Namibian perspective, about I have the idea, I have the creativity, I have the plan, but there's no money. How do we address money in an innovation or entrepreneurship perspective?
I'll bounce it back to you. You work heavily with students who are entrepreneurial, coming up with new concepts. Like, how do you see this? How do you see the money part in connection to new entrepreneurship ideas coming to life?
I would say that presenting their ideas at the right platform normally determines whether they've got access to funding or not. And I think in a nutshell, that's how I'll sum it up. So if you have a bankable business plan that you can put out in front of the right people, that could translate into that money that you're looking for.
Right. So basically, you're saying if there's a clear business opportunity and you're asking for certain money, then it's easy to see if I could invest money in this case, this might be the outcome. Yeah, I mean, that logic makes sense. On a general level, my observations have been that no matter what era, AI or not, the best entrepreneurs out there were always raising money.
Okay.
That's a certainty. Then it boils down a lot to what is the core competence of the team. Like, it's fair to give a very general remark that this what's often called shallow tech solutions are getting less funded in quantity, which is not a surprise.
Yeah.
They will get going back to AI and capabilities, we have to build those. And then there is, for example, this innovator deep tech is on the rise. Deep tech is sexy again, and it used to be considered like very investment heavy, long product development cycles, long sales cycles, and those are still relatively long or longer compared to some other examples. But at the same time, we see that deep tech is it's hard technology, and it often comes as a, for example, university spin-off that is rooted in years and years of research and development. So I think funding in general is not a problem.
Okay.
Is every idea going to get funded? No, and I think that's good. Data says that we never had, at least in Europe, there was never more funding available than now.
Right.
And there was never more startups being funded by numbers than now. But at the same time, there was never more startups being established and tried out. I think one saying that rings in my head with this topic is something like, it's never been more easier to establish a company, yet it's never been more difficult to keep it alive.
Yeah.
So maybe this kind of like this perspective on funding as well.
Okay. Now, just to bring the conversation full circle, you've spent a bit of time with some of our students here at NUST. What are some of the key things that you have seen, and maybe that you would like to to give like maybe a pointer or advice on with regards to what you've seen so far?
I sometimes think in patterns. And when you ask me, I start to think with what are commonalities with all the students I interact with. And there are clear ones. First, very open with feedback. Like we had a lot of students, individuals, and teams that came together. And most of the cases, we had a chance to work where, let's say, open for transformation, open for rethinking parts of the concept. Brave. A lot of them didn't have complete work just yet before the jumped on stage.
Okay.
Expose the ideas and see what's been what's not. Also, quite collaborative. At least has been heavily like that with all the teams. One thing that I would wish them to do more is to embrace thinking outside of Namibia. And this is not only in Namibia, this is literally every country. We innovate. There's tendency of us to think within the borders of where we live, but there's always a chance to explore global problems. And that's where we get to kind of like also maximize the potential of ideas that we are capable with. So I think it's potential superpower. Back to one of the first questions, being a small market.
Yes.
It enables to also solve neighboring countries' problems, solve the African continent problems. Why not global problems? So
Awesome. And any concluding words that you'd like to, maybe something you'd like to see the next time you're back in Namibia?
I'd love to see some of the concepts and themes we worked with today continue. Be brave. Try it out. I think a message for students specifically, who I assume most of them are in their 20s.
Yes.
20s is a great time to give it a shot and play with innovation and startups. I had my first startup company when it was 2012, so I was 22. Very little to lose compared to my situation today, meaning like in 20s you don't have mortgage, but a lot of other stuff that later will come live. So it's okay to try it out. No one died from testing a startup idea, so everyone will be fine. They can always go back to 9 to 5. But imagine what if I will succeed and it goes somewhere. Maybe not in the first attempt later. So
Yeah.
To recap, be brave, try it, see what happens with the expect come out of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this show today. It was an awesome experience that we had. And I'm sure the different students within the NUST corridors have been challenged by what you and really did for us over this week.
Thanks, Nigel, for sharing this space, and also maybe to respond thanks to whole NUST university and community for having us here. We feel very welcome and feel good to be another here. So let's hope that this will continue in the future as well.
Thank you.
I guess.
Now, that was another episode of Research and Innovation Matters. And today we spoke about innovation, entrepreneurship, and the ecosystem that it rests within. We trust you enjoyed this episode. And till next time,